We are recording. Okay, good morning. This is Tuesday morning. This is October 27th. Welcome to the Hawkeye trading session. Trading the foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in the foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objective, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with the foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. This is a live trading room. It is for educational purposes only. No financial advice or recommendation will be provided. Any trade taken during the live session is not a recommendation or a suggestion that you should also do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Do not trade money that you cannot afford to lose. And before trading live, always operate with a written trade plan that identifies rules for entries, exits, targets, and risk management. And we shall go to the charts. And right now, there's been two alerts that were pretty active this morning, and I'll be showing you the British US at as soon as I change my screen here. This one's already broken out of the alert area. We basically had an alert at 7:30 with the British pound. And the way I drew this one, looking at the 15-minute chart, it was an ascending wedge, which means it was coming up from going from low to high. I just put a flat top on the top. I saw there was a nice little move up. We had the alert, and it was right about where we had the alert. It was starting to break through the top of where the B is. I just took the previous high, the low, and then I just flat topped it with. I just moved the D off to the side to make a flat top across. And then I looked over here to the left. I saw where this big move coming down was from yesterday's. That was from yesterday's high. I put a target zone up here with the basically I used the pivot high before it moved down, and I had so it was a high, and here was the blue candle that retraced into that area, and this is really the area where this move started. So what I did was I moved the target from the top of that blue candle over to the top of the red candle. That made my supply zone. And that's the area where I'm looking for this thing to hit, which is right now, it's at the 3062. And actually, once it broke through, once we got it closed above the B on the lower, even on the lower time frame, and we had the RSIs were coming up we're above they're out of that 4060 zone, moving upward. It broke to the top, looking for this for a target. It's pretty much there already. And you can see that the target range was about 17 pips, and I pulled out about 8 pips out of that move, and I'm out of the trade already. This was the trade.
Great trade out.
This one actually broke the wedge, got in. Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart
Looks
or the
like it
5-minute.
could turn around. Looks like it could turn around any time now.
Yeah, the British pound was relatively strong, but here was the alert. Here was the break. It came up there, wicked above, pulled back. But when it pulled back, and it started and I was looking at the moving averages a lot on this one, and this is something that I've been using as a gauge for getting in or getting out or looking for reversal, is if you have the alert, you had the trend. If you look at this green moving average, it came in, it did not cross the yellow. It came in, tagged the yellow, but didn't cross it. Pulled away, came in, tagged it, did not cross it. Pulled away, tagged it, did not cross it. And my criteria there was as long as it didn't cross, once it came up here, once this moving average came back and consolidated in this area, once it crossed and it could not cross it and got the blue candle, I was okay with taking that trade. And actually, I was okay staying in the trade. And so right now, the range that you're looking at is as long as it doesn't cross up until where my target came in, I was okay taking it. Now staying in, I got my 7 pips. And I knew it was coming on up. I had a nice little push up. I got out of the trade. But you see, like right now, it's still the green 5-period moving average. It still has not crossed the yellow. This could still just be another pullback to re-enter or to maybe add a position or something of that nature. For me, I'm happy I got my pips, and I'm just gonna stay out. Right now, you can follow this trade with the 62, and if you get the cross, it's probably going to bounce off the 62. That would be the better pullback. It would be pulling by the time this thing pulls. If this crosses, pulls back, retest the wedge, because you can see from where it actually broke and closed above the wedge, which is this within your entry. To that point, that you've had it's already up 11 pips, but now it would be, and you only have about a 3 pip from if you got in at the wedge. At the break of the wedge, you'd only be risking 3 pips to the downside of the moving average. And you can see, like right now, it pulled back, it hooked. It's still not done going up right now. From what I can see, you have the hook here. It's still coming up, and we're still looking for. This is just a pullback from what I'm seeing right now, and so you can still be in this trade. The green has not crossed the yellow, and we're still good to the upside still. If it crosses the yellow, then I'd be looking at getting out, wait for it to come bounce off the 62, have the green cross back over the yellow again to the upside to help continue the move. Right now, this is a very shallow pullback, but it's no reason to get out of the trade. And a lot of times I will use this crossover. Once it crosses over, I'm out of the trade, and then I could wait for it to come back and maybe do another re-entry or to look for that reversal that may come to the other side of the wedge.
I like that, Al. I also note that the 30-minute 62 crossed under price, so it's actually pushing the price upwards as well.
The 36, say that again?
Yeah, the 30-minute 62 has just, it crossed probably right before it breached the wedge, so
yeah. And
that's pretty dominant.
Yeah, this is one thing I liked about it. Before we even got the alert, we had the price came up over this is the 30-minute 62, the blue one. It came up over 30.62, came back down, retested it, pushed back up, got the alert, got the wedge, got the alert. Now these alerts are not on a 1 minute chart. They're not when you get the alert at 7:30. It's not giving you a whole lot of time to get in and to figure out what's going on. But I would use this 30-minute 62 is getting to be a very popular thing for me. Is that when you see it bounce off of it or you see it cross and recheck it, that's usually good. If everything is looking to the upside and it crosses the 62 and come back, now you've got a nice little bounce, and you can use that as your stop. If you were looking at this before you ever got the alert, which I was not, I got the alert, but I saw the bounce, I saw the flag, I saw the break above uh, this this candle right here, and you can actually draw your wedge off of this 1 minute from. You actually have a nice little wedge area right here from here to here's a low, here's a high, and then flat top to top and flat top to bottom. And if you have the momentum going up, crosses over. This could be a very early entry. It'd be a little bit aggressive, but it could still be a viable entry to. Let's see, you pull this down. Bring this down here to where I still like getting these things moving in the right direction when I draw these wedges. But your C could have been flat topped. Make in line with the A, you get the break. But this was still the better wedge right here. You still wanted to see that break because I drew that with a bigger wedge all the way over back here from yesterday's high and low. But that was a nice little break. And I said we had a nice room for a pretty straight shot for the target. It hasn't hit the target yet. And so this could just pull back, give us a little bit of an ABC correction, come back up, retest this area, and then maybe give it up and start going in the other direction. But right there, you had a nice little area to be able to get your 7 pips out of that. We had a US CAD trade. And let's see, where was that? That was on the, that one, no, that was
There we go, we might have a really nice opportunity for a re-entry into this trade, Al.
On the US CAD?
No, on the GU.
On British US?
Yeah, we might have a really nice entry. What do you got there? Is that the 1362 cross on the way down or what?
We have the, 62 is, I'm on a 1 minute chart. We're getting the cross of the 513 cross. This is the cross I was telling you about, I was mentioning.
Yeah.
That we have the cross right now. if I was long, I mean, I'm right now, this thing's trying to go, it's going to retest the wedge or it's going to retest the 62 to the downside. If it comes back and retests the wedge and the wedge holds, then it's going to keep on, it's going to keep heading on up, in my opinion. And let's see what we have here. Right now, I'm still showing some strength to the upside. We do have the flip on the 1 minute chart with the British US dollar is now showing more strength on the 1 minute. But coming over here to the 15 minute, you still have a strong 6-0 spread. So I do not want to be taking this thing short. 5 minute, you on the 5 minute chart, you have a 5-0 spread, still showing strength to the British on the upside. I'd be looking at this as a pullback. It's flipped right now on this pullback. The dollar is stronger, but that's on the 1 minute chart. When it comes back, if this thing flips back over to the British being stronger, and these are still showing stronger, that would be an okay place to maybe take an entry to go long again off this bounce. But I'm expecting this probably going to come back into the wedge a little bit, and then we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But it should not break the 30 minutes 62 on either one of these charts, which is actually it's all in the same spot on all three charts. So our moving averages are in the correct direction. We have the green, yellow, orange, green, yellow, purple, and green, yellow. Now this one's flipped over because we have the crossover here. But as long as the 15 and the 5 moving averages are in the correct direction, this is just a pullback. We still have the 62 still pointing up. It hasn't flattened out yet. So I would expect there's going to be a little bit of a bounce off of this.
Yeah, I think we might get a nice bounce at. I've got a trend line drawn there at 30.44.
30.44. Oh, this off of
Bottom.
off the
It
1
would be a
minute.
top. No, it's a bigger one. It's a bigger one. I don't know why my eyes put it where it was, but maybe just
Because here's when we had the wedge. Here was the anchor. Here's the hit. We haven't had the other hit on this bottom of the wedge. I said we just flat top the top with a breakout, and we'll just see if it comes into this area. If it comes into this area, we should get a bounce. If everything's still to the upside, we should get a little bit of bounce off the top of the wedge or top of the 62. Get these 5 and 13 moving averages to cross back over again. Get the green on top of the yellow, and then we may be able to make another run for this because this is just a strong little flag. But we had a strong move up from this point here. We had a strong move up, came back down. This is probably about a 50% to 61.8 retracement, and then we could possibly get another. It's a little bit deeper pullback from a trend continuation, but I would sort of I'm looking at this as being an ABC pattern from here. I get my ABC. Here's the 0. Here's the first pullback, A, B, C, and then I'm looking for the possible retrace up into this area for this thing to turn around and come back down again. This is a supply zone. It hasn't actually if you come over here, let me get over to another chart here. If you come over and look at the supply zone, whoops, wrong one. And you look and see the price action. If I took this and took it all the way down to the top of this, where this blue candle is, take it to the top of that red candle, move it over that way, you'll see it actually just tagged over here. You'll see it just tagged the bottom of this. This blue candle right over here is the candle that actually went back to retest the zone before it broke. So and I'm looking at the body of that. So it came up, gave us a red candle. The top of this red candle, top of the body of the red candle was the deciding factor where this thing wasn't going any higher. And that's right where this thing came into play. So this thing there's a good chance this thing's going to turn around and maybe come back down the other way. All our sides are at the top. We have this above let's see, we have the 8-period RSI. It only got up to 60, let's just call it 68 right now. It's not quite to the 75 mark. So it still has a little bit of room to the upside. If this thing can come up into 75 and turn around, this might be the beginning of a reversal. But I say I wouldn't push it too much more. If you got in, I would be looking at taking some profits here. I think the supply zone is probably going to hold. If not, then we got lots of room to the upside to the next one up here, where the yellow line is. If we look at the US CAD, pretty much the same story, just in the opposite direction. We had the alert here at 6:45. It pretty much got the alert, pulled back a little bit, broke, and right now it's just heading on down. It's starting now to, we had the crossover. If you look and see where the crossover, the green yellow crossover, you can see where it came up, didn't hit, didn't cross, came up, hooked, didn't cross, came up, hooked, didn't cross, came up, hooked, didn't cross. Here it crossed. So right now it's crossing, it's retesting the 62. I'm going to be looking at this could be the ABC correction, come back to retest this area for it to reverse over to the upside. Or the other option will be is it hits this target. And if we have this purple line down here is a higher time frame trend line that has not been confirmed, but has just wait for this third hit for the confirmation. This thing could very well come all the way down to that, depending on what the market's doing with the oil and gas and everything else. That's the U.S. Canadian dollar is usually pretty much follows the when oil is strong, the Canadian dollar gets stronger, and so right now that's what we're looking at here. The dollar is still strong on this pullback. The dollar is strong to the Canadian, but this is a pullback as opposed to being the trend reversal. The Canadian dollar is still strong on this move. But I said I would not be, again, if it was a nice little trade here, I'm out of that trade as well. I said I got in pretty much right at the break and got this is 20 pip move. I think I got about 7 pips out of that one. But this was the first target zone. If you look at your 5-minute chart, you have the break of the wedge. Here's your first target. It came down to kind of based it along here. This was the other pivots that it had to get through. It got through that. And then it broke down. This is the next zone, which is the pivot. If you come over here, each one of these little pivot pullbacks are where the next bounce could possibly be. This is where the last test, where it came up, crossed the 62, 30-minute 62, came back, retested it, and then it started trending on up. Same way here, came down, crossed the 30-minute 62, came up, retested it, still broke up a little bit higher, but then this is the area where once it closed, broke, then broke the wedge that was on its way. And right now it's still kind of following the 30-minute 62, the 5-minute 62 are all pointing down. And we are getting a little bit of a nice strong move down, getting a little wedge pattern here. This thing could just pull back up a little bit, come back, retest this, come back up. And this thing could be basing in between this area for the rest of the day. It could also just come down, just break, but this would be the area where I'd be looking. This is the area where I'd be looking for that reversal, but you could also get it a little bit earlier. Any other alerts? Any other questions, comments, suggestions?
Pedro's actually put in the Q&A, he's drawn a support line for the pound US. Just wondering our thoughts.
Let's take a look at it. Let's see if I can pull it up here. That took a snapshot of your chart there, Pedro. I see.
Yeah, he's got a link there for a trading view for his chart.
Let me see if I can pull it up here someplace. That's a question. Let me see if I can. There we go. Let's see if I can copy. Let me see what I can do with this here. Give me a minute. Thank you for sharing that, because it's nice to be able to see what you guys are doing out there and see if we can make some comments on it. There we go. Here's the chart. So here's what he's showing us here. So this is the British US, Rwanda, and here we had this is where the alert was at 7:30. He has a 562 here. So these are the Let me see if that looks right. It looks like it probably is. And the trend line you were looking at was this support line right here. So here was the break. We had a trend line. I'm not sure this was this year. That was the D. That was the, oops. Let me see what we got. Here's the 30 minutes 62. Here's our 1 minute. This is the 1 minute chart. Yep. And the bounce off here, support, broke the support up. This is where after it hit the, came back up. So right now, so you're looking at this trend line right here from this one. So here's the anchor, here's the hit, here's the break. Yeah, I think that's a valid line. Now the question is now is that with the anchor, here's your hit. This was the third hit on this trend line. You're also coming down off the 62. So this is going to be an area of indecision. If it breaks, this one could give you a head fake right here. It could break and then back up. But yeah, this is an important point. If it can break the trend line and can break the 62, then I'd be looking for a retest to retest this trend line or retest the 62 to see if it goes lower. But this is going to be an area that we'll have to be watching to see what it's doing. So yeah, I think you're right on the money with that. What do you think there, Matt?
Matt had to step away for a couple
Matt
minutes.
has to step away. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is this is a good trend line because you have here's the alert, here's the there's the beginning of where the alert was. This was the wedge area pretty much, but as it came back, it retested before it broke. It did form a little pivot. This I would count this whole area as one hit because it really didn't. I would count this one broke this high with this candle, so that validates it here. These were just sort of like kind of a retest, but it does revalidate. I would view this on a 1 minute chart. I look this all as one area of hit. Here is a real move away, which really validated that this held. And right now we're still waiting to see what happens here. So yeah, that's good. That's good job, Pedro. Let's see where we're at here. Let's see if I can duplicate that on my chart. We had the, where was the, this is Canadian dollar. Let's go back over to the other chart here. And let's see here. This is 15 minutes. Get me to the 1 minute. And you'll probably see my chart's probably going to be pretty close to the same. See, this is all the way up here. So he was looking at this area from, now here's looks a little, let me see again here. It was at 30, the 1 minute chart. This was the trend, yeah, this was the trend line that he was looking at with pretty much this area. There's the anchor, here's the hit. Let me just draw this trend line here. Let me move this down here. I'm just going to tuck this in with the, there's the A, there's the C was pretty much there. Here's my D. This was the area that he was looking at. You can see that this actually broke this area. So if we draw it from the B to the D, if I can get that to draw. There's the B to the D. Here's where it broke this trend that we were talking about earlier that Pedro drew out. And you can see it broke, it did it. So you can see this little basing right in here. You can see where you got this little red candle and little blue candle. That was a basing. That was a good example that this thing, if you see a basing just before an area where you expect it may break or hold, oftentimes if a base is just before that area, it's going to break through. Same way on the upside. If you can see where it, like right this candle right here, you had the nice blue candle, a red candle right here at the top where this trend line was. We had to break, came back down, base just that little bit. That was a good example of how oftentimes once it bases, it's just like it's gathering its forces to break through that wall. Same way here, came down, get that one little blue candle. It's all time. That's all you need. That one little candle right after the break. And if you can get that to, and it bounced, came back, and it just kept on going. I would expect it's going to come down here, retest the 62, probably retest the bottom of the wedge if it goes. Now we're looking at this area for a target. But we'll see what happens. This is going to be a critical area, right? When it comes in, if it bounces off, this is where this is the origin of this wedge, of this trend line that we drew. Anchor, wedge, broke through. That was the third hit. This is no longer valid, but the trend line still is. And if you can actually even draw this with put the anchor on the C, draw it over into this area, this, and now we have another little test of this trend line. Anchor, hit, is testing right now. We got a red candle, a blue candle. It's starting to base a little bit. If you start looking for another red candle, it's probably come down here and retest this is that basing that I'm talking about, right by a major trend line. And also you have the trend line, you have this 62 right here. So my bet is that this thing's going to see where we are on the British pound. Yeah, my bet is it's going to probably break and retest the 30-minute 62. If it does, we're going to have, how much room do we have to the downside? 5 pips. I would not take that trade, but I would wait for it to bounce off of that, give us our ABC correction, come back to retest, and then maybe look to see if it goes up higher again.
My brain was in the right spot. I would have taken that short after it started reversing like that. Looks pretty pretty
right
nice.
Now right now we're just going to be retest. We're just going to retest this trend line, retest for the bounce off the 62, 30-minute.
I grabbed the upward movement on that earlier this morning.
Nice.
Yeah, so I got myself a few pips.
30.27 is that where the 62 is sitting right now?
Huh? 30.37 is right where it is.
Oh, 30.
Well, 62 is 30.31-ish.
Right.
Yeah, 30.31. Now, what I'm seeing here, remember I said that we were looking for that ABC retracement, but what we actually got was we got a 5-wave retracement. So if I go with so this could be the top of that move, but here's the wave 1, wave 2, here's wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. And so right now I'll be looking, if this is the end of wave 5, I'd be looking at an ABC correction, come back and retest it. And this wave 5 could actually end up coming all the way down here. Wave 3 and wave 5 are going to be wave 1 is usually wave 3 is usually going to be longer than wave 1, which in this case it is. Wave 4 is usually a small pullback to go to wave 5. Wave 5 is generally going to be a little bit shorter than wave 3, but oftentimes it's still an impulse move. And then once you get to where you're end of that big wave, this is the impulse move, which is a 5-wave move. Then you're looking for an ABC correction, which would be the pullback, and then you're looking to see if it's going to start another big wave or if it's going to be the turnaround point for it to retest this last wave. So this 5 could end up anywhere from here to, I was saying it placed in this area, but then we're looking for an ABC correction when it gets to the end of where wave 5 is going to end up, and we don't know where that is just yet. Here's your A, here's your B. C is going to be a little bit further away, and then it's going to come back, and then it should come back and retest. If it can't break below where the 0 or the 5 is, then it's looking like this is just a wave correction from the up move, and we're looking to probably come up and maybe retest that. This is Elliott wave theory right here. It doesn't always hold true. It doesn't always look that that clear. Sometimes these waves got to be a little bit foggy sometimes, but this one seems pretty good actually. First move down here, so this would be like wave 1, pull back wave 2. Wave 3 has got to be bigger than wave 1, and I would say it is. If you were to take a extension, now this is just theory, this is all theory that we're talking about here. Here's your extension, here's wave 1, wave 2. So it comes back to wave 2. Wave 3's got to be more than 1-to-1 of wave 1. So it's got to be, and you can see it right now, it is, let's see, do I have that right? Wave 1. If this wave from here down to the 3 is pretty much 1-to-1, so basically this 3 would be right down to about here. So this could actually be this whole thing could actually be wave 3, all the way down to here, wave 4, wave 5, a bounce. This could actually be wave 4. If I can find that here. This would be wave 4, and then we have wave 5 down here. Oftentimes, wave 5 oftentimes is less than wave 3. Usually, wave 3 is usually the biggest. I still think it could come all the way down here to retest the 62. But we'll see. But this looks like a nice little ABC correction. If it comes back up, it may start to, if it breaks the top of this with some strength, it may be okay. We get the crossover of the yellow and the white moving averages, or the green, or excuse me, the green and the yellow. But right now, all of these are starting to consolidate. We've got them all sitting right on top of each other. A nice little bounce off. This is starting to validate this trend line right here. And we have the British pound is now, we have a flip over here on the 1 minute on the British pound being stronger. And if we look on our lower time frame or other time frames, we have pound still strong on these, strong by 4 on the 15 minute. Let's move this stuff out of the way here. Then we can start looking and see what some of this price action is. I'm going to take this off. And this one up as well. You get all these different lines and things thrown up, you can't see what you're doing. I like this bounce right here. I like this bounce over here. Here's a bounce. Now I would like to see this bounce a little bit higher to cross over the wedge, but right now it did not. So right now this is valid, but it still could get breached. I would like to see this bounce clear the this area right up in here. It never really did it. This trend here is still in play. So even though it bounced off of that, doesn't mean it's going to hold. Because we have this little trend going on down. I was looking at this blue candle, this one. So I'd be checking the high here. Here's the first hit on this trend down. Here's A, B, C, come back. Right now, this would be where I call the C. We have the A, or this is the base. Here's the A. Here's the B. Here's my C. And now we're coming back to retest. If this thing breaks this point right down here, then this thing's going lower. If it holds, this could be the point where this down move is going to reverse.
Al, there's
Yes.
a question from Pedro. If the candle closes above the top wedge line on a 5 minute, would you take it long again?
Well, no, if it closes above the top wedge, on the wedge, the main wedge line, is that what we were talking about?
Above the top wedge line, yeah, on the 5 minute chart.
That's a very good question. Let me see what this thing looks like. Let me see the price action on the 5-minute here.
On GU, I would be a little cautious.
Yeah, the fact this was such a strong move down, right now I would be real hesitant. I would like to see it bounce off of this before I would take it again. A lot will depend on what all this is telling me. Right now, with the British US being so close right now, I'm thinking that this thing could very well break and retest. This could be the pullback to retest the 62. Right now, I'd say you're kind of in the middle of, let me just check something else out here.
Yeah, pretty close to 62.
I think it's, we're getting to the point where I would say no, I would not take it. I think this was I think this move up here was the move, and now I think it could very well start to reverse. And that's based on some other indicators that I'm using. It's starting to come out. It's starting to retrace out of the top part. I'd be more looking at, yeah, I would not take it long. I'd be more apt to be thinking it's going to come down and maybe punch out the bottom of the wedge. This was a nice little move up, but I think this could be the end of that move from. If you're looking at, let's take a look at a daily chart here, or a higher time frame chart. Let's see. Let's go to 4 hour and see if we can find something here that might help us make that decision. I'm gonna take all this stuff off. If I look at the candle formations on well, that was just a wick coming. See this blue where we do our supply zone on a 4-hour chart. That was just one real strong wick. On a 4-hour, it came right up and came right back down. That I don't think is something you would want to be. So basically, this is about the highs it's going to be going for this move. I think we do have some strength to the upside, though. This is actually the. Let me just take this one off too. This is all yesterday's price action. So the area that is trading in actually from yesterday, and we had a alert yesterday on this as well. But this is really the playground where it's in right now. It's in this this area right in here. This is basically it's going sideways into this range. And so we've got this strong, this blue candle on this 4 hours. It's like this candle went up in 4 hours, came right back down all in that same 4-hour period. Had a nice little wick. If we look at the trend line from this, I would say the trend line that we're looking at from the higher time frame trend is starting up here, hit there, and this here was the hit. This was as high as it got. And now I'm thinking it's going to be looking at breaking out of the bottom of the box, and then it's going to be retesting this area right down in this area. Here's the strong move. This was a move where this thing originated. This is way back on the 20th, which was last week. And you might have, let's see what this looks like with the trend from this point. Again, this is talking about the higher time frames, but you have to know where the higher time frames are to see what the lower time frames are going to do. See it wick down here, came back down. So right now it's still playing. The only thing I would be looking at doing now is if it gets down to this trend, and actually we can probably put this over here because that was, and this is not still has not been validated, but as this comes down and test this one, let's see if we can do something else over here. Let's see. I'm just looking to see where we have. That's a little bit more. I like this hit there. Flatten it out off of it. Here's the origin of this is the area where these three big candles just rocked it up. So I'm looking at this is the origin. Here's a little higher low. I'm looking at this as being the If it breaks the wedge there, I'm looking at this being the target off of this candle. And that would give you some room, but it's got to get through that. Right now I'm thinking I'd be looking at maybe going long down here, short up here until it breaks out of this box area. And then you start looking at the lower time frames to see where that may or may not happen. And you can see this bounce off the top of this trend line. That pretty much this move here pretty much validated this trend line that was over here. I'm going to validate it, so I'm going to change it to confirmed. This one has not been confirmed yet, so no, I would not take that off of that. Hope that answers your question. Let's see what the other charts look like here. It broke
Looks
through.
like the U.S. CAD is forming a wedge.
Is it? Okay, let's take a look at that one.
An ascending wedge.
Nice strong move down. Here's a nice little wedge right here. It came down. It broke the A. It's coming back up to retest it. Here is the wedge that we had. It broke. Again, we're looking at dollar weakness, Canadian strength. But now we have the dollar on the 5-minute chart. The dollar is now getting stronger. So that's because of this pullback. Now the question is going to be, are we going to get the flip of the, let's look at our 1-minute chart on this. We probably have the flip. We got the flip here. And it may come up to retest the 62. Let me see something else. Check something else out. It is coming out of that bounce area.
Wow, it's really going up.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to. I would look at maybe retesting the. I would be looking for this. This is still showing Canadian dollar strength. I'd be looking to come up to retest the 62, this area right up in here, the wedge and the 30-minute 62. I'd be looking for it to come up and test that, and then have the green and the yellow flip, and then break below the white 62 and get everything moving in the right direction again. Right here, we still have the orange, yellow, green. That's also moving in the right direction. We have the purple, green, yellow. Now this has a flip here. So this one's flipping, but again, we're gonna have to see if this thing's gonna hold up in here. So right now, this could be a strong pullback, or it could also be a reversal. And right now, I don't know the answer to either one of those. But I'd be looking at see if it's going to retest this area right up in here where we have the 30-minute and the 5-minute 62s all right together, right at the wedge. I'd be looking to see if this bounces. If you get this to come up here and not penetrate or not close above, and you get the reversal of the 5 and the 13, then you could maybe, and if you have enough room till it gets to the, if this thing pulls back up, the 5 and 13 crossover and look to use this for a target, do you have 7 pips there? If you do, you could maybe take a shot at it and look at this being a pullback to maybe go lower. Because as I said, we're still looking at, this is the ultimate target down here off this major trend line. This could just be a nice strong pullback to give you that option, the opportunity to maybe catch the reversal. This one's been broken and been retested, and we take this one off. This one's been broken and retested and take that off. Now we have the wedge and all our moving averages. So if this thing comes up, flips over, let's see how much room we have down here to where this is. There's 9 pips. If I come to there's 14 pips. That'd be a nice retracement. And if we can get the hook and come back to retest this, that might be what we're going to be needing to get our target down here. So this could be a possible pullback entry here. What do you think, Matt? Is Matt still here? Did Matt leave us?
Okay. No. I didn't leave you. I've just been watching the GU quite a bit, actually. I'm trying to see what if we could potentially have another another entry, but it's not really looking so sharp for a high probability trade on my end.
Yeah, I want to see this. Right now, I'm thinking with this US CAD, it's coming up into an extreme area on the 5-minute, i.e. testing the 5-minute 62. Testing is coming up into this zone. If this thing can come up and the wedge holds and the 30-minute 62 holds and just gets a bounce and we get the flip over here, I think that might be a good possibility for a short on this pullback.
Yeah, I'm looking at a GU to bounce off the 30-minute 62. Right now, it's bouncing off the top of one of my wedges, my trend lines, more or less, and the 62 is right under it. So just see if we can get a nice setup there.
I'm checking something else out here and seeing. I would not be taking this thing short just yet. But it does have potential for a possibility. Yeah, I definitely want to see these two moving averages cross over. But this one's also showing some strength to the upside. So this thing could base up here for a little while. But you do have room. Once this thing, this is a really strong move up. You can see where the 15 and the 30, 62 is all right here on the wedge. This one broke down below, but this 30 is sitting right here on the right at the top of it. So this is going to be a critical point. I would expect it might wick up here, retest the wedge, and maybe keep going up. But if it comes up here, wicks, and retest, we get the flip over, get these two to flip. That might be a good shot to take it short again. It may be another, I'm thinking it could be another 15, 20, 15. What time is it now? It's at 8. This could be at the 9 o'clock reversal or 10 o'clock reversal. We might get this to move down. You can see we're coming up on the 9 o'clock hour. And again, here's another strong move right before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, we've made quite a bit of money on the 9 o'clock hour there, Al.
Yeah,
Little bit.
It certainly is certainly seems to be a time of day where things start to materialize and come together.
Pre-market's good, and then right after the 9 o'clock is pretty solid, and then after that it kind of, at least in my experience and my opinion, it kind of fizzles out a little bit, and then this might be it. Let me see.
As if we get the flip of this, that means the green is going to go below the yellow. The yellow is still kind of pointing up right now, this 13. I'd like to see it sort of flatten out a little bit, start curling around a little bit, but not. And I think what you may see is the green come down, test the yellow 13, but not cross it, unless this thing starts flattening out a little bit. Because the yellow one's got to cross as well before it's going to be moving on down. This is a nice pullback, though. This might be a nice little entry to re-enter to this short side. We'll see what happens. And looking to measure the distance, see if you have enough room from the 1 minute 62 to wherever the cross is right there. That's only 5 pips. By the time this thing crosses and confirms, you may be giving up most of your potential gain unless it can break through the bottom. There's certainly a lot of consolidation right in here. I'd be looking at this as being our zero mark. Here's the A, B pullback, and coming up here to the C. And then looking for the retest of this area down here. I'm going to move this one up a little bit. I like all the moving averages are coming up here, consolidating up here at the 89 level. Even the 8 period is consolidating up here at the 89. And if this blue one comes all the way back down by itself, then this is just going to be a pullback to a stronger move to the upside.
And GU just melted. Wow.
Aren't we glad we took our profits and didn't take that extra top of the wedge there?
Yep. Yep.
And now it's coming down. It's going to probably retest this trend line down here.
Yeah, that's the advantage, Al, of getting in quick and leaving quick and getting your pips for the day and smiling and saying, all right, we'll look for another setup later.
Yeah. I do think with this Canadian dollar, this thing could go and pop out of the other side and retest this zone up here. This is what I call a little bit normal, stronger than normal move here. Right now, I'd be looking more of having this thing come back, having these cross, bounce off of this 62, have the moving averages cross the second time, getting the green in the same direction, and this be the pullback for a higher move. So I'd be looking at this being the C, but also be looking at another ABC to the reverse side to here, to here, retest, and then come back up. And then it's going to start looking at maybe going on the other side of the wedge. It's coming to a very critical area right in here.
Yeah, in the last about 30 minutes or so, GU has dropped 40 pips.
Wow. Would have been good to grab that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would. Sorry, I lied. 35.
Oh, Matt.
No, I know. And it was 45 minutes, but let's see what happens. I'm just looking for a decent entry on this pair. GU has been a real moneymaker for me in the last little bit, so I've kind of liked the way that it's been moving.
Yeah, sometimes certain pairs just work out for you, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd be looking at the Canadian dollar to come back, retest this area, and then come back up and retest. Right now, I'd say it's going to be trading in this range here between the wedge and the 62 here, which means they're looking at pretty much of a range of about 12 pips. I'd like a little bit more than that to take a trade. Now, if it comes up, breaks through this 30-minute 62, comes back and retests the bottom of the wedge, then I think you're looking at the top of here and break out to the upside. So here's the top of my C. I'm going to move this right over with it. Put those right on top of each other. Now I'm looking for a pullback. This type of a move here. And then maybe another hook around. But right now I think right now I'm thinking this is pretty much the bottom of this. And we're looking for this retest. And I'd be looking at the retest of a trend line. Probably, I'd be looking at pretty much this right here. This one's not confirmed. So here's my anchor. A couple near hits here, but I'm just going to take it to before this big move up. So I'm going to use this as the last point, and I'm still looking for a confirmation to come back down and retest. And if it can break through the bottom of this trend line here, then I think it has a good chance of heading down to this area. I don't think it's going to happen immediately. This area is coming out of extreme on the 15-minute. This one's already at the top. So we have this one's coming out. This one's at the top, heading back down. This one's already come back down. It's splitting, and it's make another little hook to have this one kind of come back up and retest this area. But right now there's conflict between the higher time frame up move and then the lower time frames pullback. And this is coming up on the close of the 9 o'clock hour. pullback, coming up and retesting the wedge again. And the market's opening up. Well, the futures market's opening up. Anybody who's trading futures.
Indices, not futures, though.
Yeah, I've been messing around a little bit with them.
Let's see here. And we're still waiting. So right now we've got this thing breaking up into the wedge. So it looks like it's breaking the 62. So this could be an area where it's going to be looking at to retest this upper part here. And I think now might not be a bad time to take a little bit of a break if anybody wants to take a break and wait. We've got a few minutes before the next 15-minute candle comes out and see if any other alerts show up. Actually, we did have an alert on US JPY at 9 o'clock. We did have that. Let's take a look at that one.
I didn't even see that come through.
So we're going to be looking at, let's clear the charts, clear the fib lines. And it was a descending wedge. So we're going to go a 15-minute chart. Let's just take a look and just take a little spot check and just see where things are moving. Everything looks like it's moving to the down position, to going short with a little hook here. Everything's in line to go short. A little bit of a pullback crossover. Just see if this gets a crossover. And this one is not quite in the right position either. So right now we have a little bit of indecisiveness going on right here with this on this alert. So we will go to 9 o'clock. And it was a descending wedge. So we're going to start with our A up here. There's our B, here's our D, our C, and tuck it in as close as we can. And I'm just going to tuck it in. I'm going to flat bottom this B until this candle gets confirmed to which side is going on. We have a nice little slope here. But now if it breaks out the bottom, we're looking to go short. If it breaks out the top, we're looking to retest these 62s. And range-wise, we have, if it goes to C to here, we have only 5 pips to the upside, a little bit more to the 30-minute. Yeah, but right, I'm looking at the strength meter. We're looking at, these are all pretty close. These are all right on top of each other. The 1 to 2, only 1 point spread. Right now, I would stay out of this trade for a little bit. And I would be looking to see if it breaks the C, it's got to break through the A before it's going to go up higher. I think you have a little bit more resistance going to the upside. So I think right now I'd be favoring this more to the downside.
I just got my my 8 or 9 pips on the GU after it bounced, so I took that off of trend line bounce. And then, so patience paid off.
This was the trend line bounce off of which trend line that you're looking at?
Oh,
long or short?
I went long.
Okay, so it was a bounce off of this trend line. It crossed over the 62 and then bounced.
Exactly. Let me see your screen. Sorry, I got a lot of screens up. I'm trying to. Where is?
Yeah, I didn't like the idea of taking this thing short once it came back up in here.
No, exactly. No, that's what I did.
This was a bounce right in here. There's a bounce. Crossed over the 62, came back, checked it.
Exactly.
Now it's off to retest where we had the confirmation trend line.
Yeah, that's exactly where it was. So my trend line's drawn a little bit different than yours, but not by much. Maybe it would be a pip or 2 difference by the time it hit, but mine, right before it broke up, it tagged the top of my trend line, and then that's when I got the green light to give her a swing. So I would expect it to turn around pretty soon. Actually, this is not going to be. I don't want to say that, but I don't think it's going to be a very long trade. I think this is just pulling everything down. But the key here, Al, was the 3rd hit on the trend line. That was the big deal. I needed a couple hits to validate that that's where the trend line was, and I actually had an intersection of 2 trend lines.
You're talking about this trend line right here?
Yeah, and then I had one that I drew from the top of the run to the bottom, like on the way down. So let me see if I can. Are you on the 5-minute or?
This is a 5-minute here.
Oh, okay. So on the 1 minute, I have another wedge. So I have a trend line from the top of the run to the bottom of the run, and it intersects at the exact same point that my trend line from the bottom of the run intersects. And that's that one candle that tagged it. I can share my screen for a minute if you want.
Okay, I can let you do that.
Yeah, let me do that.
Go ahead. I'll stop sharing.
I think it might bring a little bit of clarity to why I decided to take the trade. But you see my screen now, guys?
Yep.
Perfect. Yep. So here, what I did is pardon all the lines. I get a little excited when it comes to drawing trend lines. So I drew a trend line here at this point, this point, this point, this point, this point, this point, and this one missed a little bit, but big deal. What I was looking for was this one here. I drew it on a higher time frame. Let me see if I can blow it up a little bit.
If you can spread your candles out a little bit, it might be easier to see it too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me see if I can move that over. Whoa, let's not do that one. Let's drop this down a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. All right, so let's go back here. So what I did is I went on the 5-minute chart and I saw a trend line. Notice I didn't really adjust it as much as I should have. It's not right on the wicks. So some people might crucify me for that. But here is where it got interesting. So I looked for the setup. I set the trap. my trap was on this trend line. I want 1, 2, 3, and then I had a breach here, and I said, well, that's okay. That's a breach, big deal. But it intersected right here at this point, and then I was looking for, so it was coming down, and I didn't move. See, this is a beautiful trade here. You got your bounce on that trend line, but I didn't catch that. I think this is the one that Al caught this morning.
Yeah, that's the one I caught.
Right. So the other thing with this is you can actually draw trend lines and extend them. And then sometimes you might get some really nice bounces. So anyway, so right here, this is the one that I saw, and I said, well, listen, if it's going to be a channel, see, this is a channel, then it's going to eventually break the channel. And if that point at the channel break and it intersects with the 62 that's sitting right there, and it's got a long breaking candle, you know what? We have to take that trade. There's too much here not to take a swing at the bat. And that's as rundown as I can kind of explain it, Al, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But does this kind of make sense from that side? You know, you got your bounce, and then we had a breach here, but just because it looks like a breach doesn't mean it's actually a breach. It doesn't invalidate this trend line. It's actually where it breaks it and it tags it and then it takes off. That's actually a stronger confirmation than just a regular bounce. That means, hey, you actually have this trend line set properly. Oh, and I saw something. Maybe this will work. Maybe it won't. We'll see. So even though there was, I don't want to get too far out of the way, but so there was a wedge here. I'm going to clean this up a little bit just so you can see. Here's a wedge. Generally, you would want to just draw your wedge until it joins, but sometimes you can actually extend your drawings all like longer, and then you'll get a nice bounce every once in a while. And this happens often as well. This is not just random stuff. So we might have something interesting to the upside still, but we'll see. We'll see what happens after this pullback. Al, anything special on your charts today?
Well, it's looking like we're starting to see it get a break on the Japanese yen to the short side.
What do we got on the yen today?
We got a descending wedge, and it looks like it's breaking out of the bottom.
Look at the distance. Look at the distance between. Oh, that's not that bad. Japanese yen always catches me.
Everything is in the right order to go short on this break. I say if it broke the bottom of the wedge, if it gets a retest, we could probably take it short to the downside, looking where our targets may be. That's the biggest question here. We have to go to a higher time frame to see if we can find a target, and this is the first target zone right here.
Oh, let me stop sharing because I think you're
okay.
Here.
Let me go right there, and let me get to try it up here.
Here, I'll let you share again.
Share, and there we go. And so right now we're getting the break out of the bottom here. This is on a 1 hour. This would be the target. This is the first target on a 1 hour chart. This is the first target zone. And we're actually pretty close to being there already. So this could have been a head fake. We have to respect this one, and we have to respect this one over here. These are all higher time frame target areas. Come back to our 15-minute chart and see what we've got. Here is the break. Here's the first target. Now the target zone on this one is from the break. I would be looking at, that's only three, that's on the US yen. Okay, they were always looking at, yeah, basically 4 pips. That's not enough. This one would be better. We'd have to get a break below here and then see if we can look at this area from this one down to here. We're looking at 54 to 47. That's only, this whole area is, it's only 7 pips. So Beware, if you want to take this thing short, beware. There's not a lot of room to the downside without running into some traffic there.
Huh.
But this was the wedge. This is the alert area right here on this. Let me see if I can reference this up here a little bit. I'll make it yellow. There's our alert. I'd like to see a little bit better break on that from that. I don't really like this one too well.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it right now. And I can show you why I would be hesitant about taking that short for 30 seconds here. Let me see if I can. I'll just share my screen for a sec, okay?
All right. I'll
And
stop sharing.
This is why.
And Pedro has a chart he'd like to show us, it looks like.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. All right. So here's the 15-minute UJ. So I drew a little wedge here, and I saw this. And I said, okay, well, this doesn't really look like much. Well, it actually, there's a whole lot of interesting in here. Okay. This break, here's the stick, and here's the bottom. And this is a pitchfork. So we're at the bottom of the pitchfork. We're at the bottom of the stick. And this trend line had a couple bounces. Here's that rejection, but it's not really, it doesn't invalidate this trend line. It's just confirming it. You see how it broke and then it came back down and tagged it and then it passed it again. So we need to find out what's going to happen here. Whatever's going to happen, if it breaks this this trend line, pitchfork is a trend line on steroids, it could be a significant move down, or it could actually come back up into this zone. So a little bit different of a perspective on that one. So let me I keep on losing Zoom. All right, cool. There, I stopped sharing. That's all I wanted to share. Pedro, go right ahead, my friend.
Well, he took a snapshot, so we need to.
Would you be able to?
It's an old chart, so it's not a live one right now. Is that correct, Pedro?
There was still some stuff in it. So Pedro, what's happening is we can't click on your link because it's in the Q&A section. So if you post it in the chat, or
actually, I was able to click on it. I can't even get into the Q&A because you guys aren't sharing a screen.
Oh. All right, I'm sharing. I'm going to start sharing one. So you can't click on the Q&A if we're not sharing. Is that what you're saying?
It appears that way because I couldn't get into it. Okay,
yeah.
There it is. Now I can click on his. I've got it up on my screen.
Oh, yeah. I don't have it. I can't click on it.
You should be able to click on the link directly in the Q&A.
No, I'm not able to do so.
Really?
No.
Because I can click on it. It opens it right up on my screen.
No. Pedro, if you could just throw it in the chat if you just want to send it directly to all panelists or to everyone.
He's saying it's an old chart.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple minutes old.
He posted this at 8:42, so almost an hour ago.
Okay.
Oh, that's okay. Maybe there's value.
It's the British pound. It's the pound dollar.
The pound dollar prior to the break.
The tail end of the conversation that when you looked at his other chart, Al.
Oh, okay.
So it posted right as you were wrapping up that discussion, and then you went on to other things. That's why I didn't say anything about it.
I see. Well, Taylor, let's just move on. How's that?
I am fine either way.
Let's just keep an eye on this yen trade and see if we can make some heads or tails out of it. And let's see. Looks like this thing has some potential to the downside. We had a nice little pullback. This thing has some potential to the downside. We had a break, retested. Still not a big fan of it, but it's I think it has some merit to the downside, but I'm not sure how much you're going to get out of it. I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah, look at that look at that big candle, eh?
Wow.
On the 15-minute, that's monstrous.
Okay, how are you?
Let's see, am I showing? Let's see, am I?
Let's see here.
I said it did break out the bottom, but we have this target zone right here, which is right below. So I'm going to stay away from this trade.
Yeah.
And let's see, where's our 62s up here? We have the break. If it comes up and breaks, if this thing can flip over, break this 62 with an up move, I'd be looking at maybe, if anything, I'd be looking at maybe taking along to the other side of this, but I don't see that. I don't want to do that either. I do think this could have been a head fake. We do have target zones up here at the pretty much the top of the wedge. And if we got it into it even down there, that's only 7 pips to the other side. So again, it's not enough room. If this thing stays inside the wedge, there's just not enough room to take it. You're better off just staying away from it. If it does break the top of the wedge, you could maybe have a shot at the 30 minutes 62, which might give you 9 pips. You could have a shot at that possibly. This would be an early entry if you're looking at doing that. You have a strong move down. You have a little bit of a basing wedge here. The moving averages are trying to cross a little bit. If we can get the green to cross the yellow, but you still have this coming down. I still want to see a close above this, maybe to, if you can get this thing moving in the right direction, get all 3 of these moving averages in this area moving up, you might be able to get a shot at having this area up here as a target zone. But it's right now, there's too much indecision there. I would just stay away. Personally, I'm staying away from it. Yeah, let me check something else out here.
I think that's a wise move, Al, just based on the fact that it's where it's looking like right now.
And we don't have all of our, I'd like to see the RSIs over in here get a little bit deeper before I pulled back. It looks like it's trying, we had a nice little, it kind of came down The blue one came, the 3-minute came down, but the 8 period did not really follow on down. It's sort of going sideways. And right now this blue one just sort of cycling back and forth. So I like to see things, but they both come back down here together and then go to the upside. So that's one reason why I'm staying out of that trade. And just not enough volatility to it. I'd like to see a little bit more. Let me see what else we have here. We have, yeah, the whole range on this thing is only about 8 pips from here to the bottom here. That's only basically 12 pips from the whole range of this wedge. Again, there's just not enough room to get your profit value out of there. And so we wait. I'll tell you, let's see, it's almost 2 minutes before the market opens. So let's, you want to take a quick break for 2 minutes, and that way, if the market opens up, give us be probably another 5 minutes before we take anything anyway. So now's a good time to take a break if anybody wants to.
That would be good, Al.
I'll just keep my charts up, and we'll just keep watching this in the meantime. See how it opens, how the market opens up. And where's the dollar right now? The dollar is still showing relatively weak. And here comes the market open. And it looks like it's going to open up to the upside. Yeah, I think this yen's going to go to the upside.
Look at that thing go. That broke nicely out of the little 1 minute wedge I drew. It'll go up to the upside for a bit. Maybe this is the reversal point of this entire trend, Al.
Well, that's what I'm thinking here.
It could be.
We're getting the crossover. We're getting the close above. I would say if you're going to take this thing long, now would be a good time to do it. Maybe wait for a little bit of a pullback of this blue candle, this blue RSI to come back down a little bit and then hook. This is a nice little move up.
It broke right through that those candles on the way down. Just no problem at all. You know what?
Where's our US CAD here? US CAD is going to the upside.
I mean, this is a really low risk trade because your stop loss is going to be on the just at the bottom there. Like if it makes any lower, you don't want to be in that trade anyway, right?
Correct.
So this is as precise as you can get. So you can take
you got the crossover.
Take a nice little buy. Because you don't even require a 5 pip stop loss on this thing. 5 pips is
and we're showing dollar strength now. We had the crossover. We had the close above this 62. And you got a little bit of room to the upside. If it breaks the wedge, then we'd be looking at this as our target area up here.
Al, Pedro
Yes.
posted another link in the chat this time.
I see it.
Oh, there we are. Ooh. I would be wary of going.
This is the US yen you're looking at.
Yeah. If you're gonna go,
Here's what he's looking at here. You have a trend line coming down here. This was here's an anchor. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. This trend line's been validated.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's still looking at a bounce. Right now, it's bouncing off in this channel right here, like this. And so, if it bounces, so that it's more than likely going to come up and retest. It did have the break of the wedge. It came back. It's kind of testing this trend line, and if it bounces off of that and get a little bit of a consolidation. Now we're on a 15-minute chart here. So taking a look at it from a lower time frame, which is pretty much what we're doing, we have this. This is about where the bounce was, or near bounce, and now it's starting to retest this upper channel. So basically, it's still inside the overall wedge of what the alert came in. It did break the B, it did break the D area, but it came right down to this trend, which is what we had over here, all the way over here to the left on the higher time frame for a pivot low. And now it's back up in, and now I'm looking at this thing is starting to gain some strength. And I'm looking at, if this 8 period can come out of the 60-40, that may be the marker to be able to take it to the upside. But I like the fact we have this crosses on the 1 minute chart. We have these 5-13 cross, close above the The whites, the 1 minute 62. Now it's coming back. Now, if we get the cross back again, I'll be out of this. I would be out of this trade if I got into it. But right now, we got a little bit of a trend, a little bit of a wedge right in here. So if we were to draw this out, we have a low. We have a low, a high, higher low, higher high. And so right now, this is the area. If it bounces off of that, we're still going up higher. If it breaks to the bottom, it may go and give us another bounce off of here. But right now, it's still in a relatively tight range. So it's not real conclusive. This would be an early entry for it to break the wedge and coming up to test the 62, the 30-minute 62. And that's what I'd be looking for a target, because really to the top of from here, if you look at the target zones, if let's say you get in if you got in on the candle, this candle close off the 62, you're only looking at 4 pips to the wedge, and then you're looking at another. So you have basically, as I can see it, from this area to the top of here, you're looking at roughly 13 pips, which would be enough to take the trade long. But it's gonna need to break the top of this in order to get up higher. We also have this 5 minute 62 coming. It's inside the wedge already, so that you're going to get a little bit of a bounce off of that probably. And we wait. Any new alerts coming in at all? Nope.
I haven't seen
9
any.
o'clock was the last one.
Yeah.
Now we actually have here, we have a nice little strong little move up. It's building another little wedge here. We'll see if it, little flag. This could be a continuation. It comes back, pulls back a little bit, and it continues on up. From a Fibonacci standpoint, you could be looking at this point here to here. It pulls back, and then the target would be right up here at the top of the wedge, which would be right in this area. And if that breaks, then it could keep on going up into above here. Whether it's going to get all the way up to this area up here, it's hard to say. But I would, right with this move right now, it's going to looks like it's going to retest the top of the wedge. And depending on where you got in, you may actually be able to pull some profit out of that. But I think you're only going to be looking at a couple pips till you get done with the spread. Right now with the spread, you'd probably be just about break even.
Yeah, too much downward pressure, Al. It didn't even make a higher high.
I'm seeing a little bit of a rally basing in here. And I still think this thing has room to the upside. I still think it's going to retest that wedge, the top of the wedge. Any questions, comments? Anybody have any thing to add to the equation? Feel free to open your mics or feel free to raise your hand. We can open your mics for you.
Nothing from me.
Okay.
No, me either. Just waiting for it to do something.
Have you guys found that drawing channels kind of helps as well, where you can draw your channel and then you can draw your wedges within your channel? And has anyone really kind of been using the stick as a take profit, or? Oh,
No
here's an
comment.
interest. No comments. You know what's interesting is there's here's an observation. Came from a well-respected trader. He said that wedges are going to be a continuation of the previous trend about 63% of the time. So if you, and I'm not condoning this, but if you do not know where the wedge is going to break out and you're really, I don't know, you probably shouldn't take the trade. But anyway, there's a 63% chance that it's going to go in the direction of the previous trend. It's going to be a continuation. It's just a little bit of knowledge that a veteran trader shared with me.
Then always comes the question is what's the previous trend? What does that mean? Because oftentimes you'll have something like this is the previous trend here, but if you look at a higher time frame, it may be in the other direction. So.
Oh yeah, no. Basically the 62. So if we're following the 30-minute 62, then we would be in a very good position to take that continuation.
So that'd be a pullback to the 62 and then continuing on down.
Yeah, there's just the likelihood is very high that it's going to be a continuation.
Would it be fair to say that generally speaking, trading the wedges, you're trading the pullbacks?
Yeah, you're trading the correction, or the consolidation is the proper word I was looking for.
Actually, pretty much came right up to our target zone, but I don't think it's done yet.
Yeah, but I'm still looking for a hook back. I'd be surprised if it makes a higher high. If it goes to 67.83.
You say higher than where the C is.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. But there could be a really nice bounce there, Al.
I think it's going to retest. I think it's a good chance it's going to retest the upper wedge.
I've got my trend line right now that it's bouncing on, so I'm curious to see if it's going to hold.
So what is the RCS showing us, Al, as far as currency strengths pair?
Well, we're showing that with the yen, it's showing the yen being stronger by 1. So really, they're kind of right near the middle, lower to the middle. Not a lot of pullback, not a lot of variation there.
But I mean, like other currencies, you know how Brian does.
With the other with all these. So basically and we're looking at the yen in the U.S. So neither one is setting the world afire. The yen's on the 4-hour chart. The yen's to the strong side, which would be looking at going short. But on the lower time frames, being the 30-minute, it's pretty much right in the middle. Not right in the middle, right in the middle here. So it's not showing anything, and that's one reason why it's just sort of sitting there, because it's a little stronger than the U.S., but not to the point where it's getting some confirmation from other currencies. It's still, right now, it's kind of stuck inside this area. On that note, it's almost 10 o'clock, so I think we're going to wrap it up for the day. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Anybody have any last questions, comments before we go? If not, let's say it's just about 10 o'clock, so stay safe, stay green. Keep an eye on this one, see if it breaks. Keep an eye on this one. Just kind of watch this one, how it goes. If you're not in, at least watch it and just see the price action of it. See how these RSIs respond to the different areas of the wedge. Try and draw your zones for your daily ranges. And you can look at, right now, the daily range on this pair is pretty much, we're pretty much right at the bottom of the daily range. So there's room to the upside, but there is a little bit of a slope coming down. So if you could look at this trend as from here, you could be looking at this point to this one as the upper trend for target. You can see that this area is above our 62 there. And then looking at, we have these 2 points over here where this was where the move came up. This one was already taken out by this move, so this was no valid. This one's still finding buyers in this area to bring it on down. And if this one breaks, then this is the next area over here, which is the next pivot. So these are your 2 zones you're looking at for downward targets. And this upper trend line is where you're looking at the upper trend line and the 62 for the upper target. And with that, stay green, and we'll see you tomorrow.